Hello and welcome to the Unqualified Podcast with Leon Wilson. That's me. Want to thank you for sticking with me during the last couple of weeks, especially. We have been busy, incredibly busy. Y'all know that Mercy Church is growing, and we're going through exponential growth. And we have been in conversation with a church that is donating the property to us, and a newer property to us, and we are working out all of the logistics and all that. On top of all that, we went to the Creation Museum and we went to the Ark with our church, and then on top of that, I went visited my family who are Hoosiers. They are in Indiana, and then we went on a short, just a 1.5 day vacation. So the wife and I, we have been busy. We have been traveling, and the Lord has been still working. And here's the thing: like, no matter what you do, we do, I do, God is going to do what God does, and we are just stewards. That's all we are, is stewards, and we're put on this planet to steward over things on His behalf. And when one of us is out of the equation, it doesn't mean that the job's not getting done. The job is in fact going to get done. God will find somebody to do His deed in His will, and He always has been. He always will be in charge. And in our case, we have some awesome men who are willing to step up, and we have women who step in and step up, and there's no lackadaisical when it comes to church. Our church, we're always pushing, we're always moving, we're always shaking. So I'm just thankful to be on this end of that, and I'm thankful that the Lord has blessed me to be the pastor of Mercy Church, and blessed me with an awesome wife and an awesome life. And we've just been moving the needle where we can. So that said, today I preached on it's John chapter 8, verses 31, 32, and 33, and it's where Jesus is talking to the Hebrew folk there, and the Bible says the Jews. He was talking to them, and he was talking about, whoever believes in Him is free, and whoever isn't believing in Him is not free, and whom the Lord set free is free indeed. And so they had asked Him a question like, hey, we're children of Abraham, and we've never been in bondage. What do you mean you're going to set us free? And I was talking about the different perspective, and the theme of today's podcast and today's sermon is perspective, and that's an important thing to talk about, because we're all different, every single one of us. We're not one of us is like the other, and I mean, in the ways that we are similar, there are still a myriad of ways that we are not similar. And I think that's important that we talk to that from a biblical perspective. The reason that there are 4 authors, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is to get the perspectives of 4 different perspectives of the walk and life and ministry of Jesus Christ. And that gospel that is preached is gleaned, if you will, from the perspectives of those gospels. From the writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And of course, Paul, who saw Jesus on the road to Damascus and got saved on the road to Damascus, converted right there in the road by Jesus Christ in the ipso facto person right there to His face. And so people were able to witness Paul being converted right there on the road to Damascus. But then, that just goes to show that Jesus in and of Himself will meet us in so many different places and help us and push us in the right direction and lead us in the right direction. And I think where we fail as people is that our perspective starts becoming the blinders through which we view the world, and we refuse to alter our perspective or respect the perspectives of others. And today I spoke about that. And one of the things that I mentioned in this is the perspective of the self-righteous Christian. And I'd like to expand upon that or expound upon that for the next few minutes, and just go ahead and say the quiet part out loud. Just because you've been saved X amount of years and you've got so much experience and whatever, it doesn't mean that people cannot teach you something. And it does not mean that you are the authority in the Christian atmosphere just because you live in that atmosphere. 60% of a conversation is how someone perceives what you are saying. And it is not necessarily your delivery that is the important part of the conversation. And don't get me wrong, I've said some things in the past, especially if you want to look in, just since I've been full-time pastoring, just in this amount of time, I've said some things that were taken completely a way I did not mean them, and in the context of my delivery, I felt like was not received. And so when I've been approached by people who said, "Oh no, this is what you said," and I'm like, "Whoa, I don't know how you got that, but this is what I said, and this is what I mean." And having those people be like, "Well, that's not what it came across to me. This is what I heard," and it's like, okay, well, we got to get back on the right track, because the train is totally derailed. But I have to respect the fact that they have a perspective, and from their perspective, this is what the delivery of my information was received as. And, the self-righteous person, the self-righteous Christian would say, well, they need to ask more questions if they've got questions or if they don't understand. But the person on the other side of that believes they've clearly understood what you're saying. So who's wrong? And the answer is that, we can both be wrong at the same time. I can be totally wrong in my delivery, and you can be totally wrong in the way that you perceive what I said, because if it's not getting what needs to be done, then we're both wrong. But it doesn't mean that you're acting out of negligence. It can be that you're acting out of ignorance. And to be ignorant is not a slight. It's not it's not me making fun of you, and it's definitely not an attack. There are things I don't know. So I'm ignorant in some things. I don't know how to do brain surgery. So I'm ignorant in that science, in that type of medicine. I'm ignorant in that. So the fact is, there are things I don't know. And if I don't know, then I don't know. and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So how do we fix that? Well, it's simple. Education. But also, it is the burden of responsibility for whoever is giving information to give as much information as they need to, or as much as possible, so that someone can get the full picture, as much as they need for whatever their lane is that they're driving in. And so, as a preacher, I have to try to give a clear picture of what the Bible says, period. Same thing as a pastor. I've got to give a clear picture of my vision for the church, because that vision, the direction for the church, this is the left and right limit that we build forward to for the church. I've got to be clear about that vision, or else no one can see what I'm trying to do. And then I can't be mad if they're working against me. But if I give a clear vision of what we're trying to do, then now I can say, okay, this does not align with the vision. We gotta do something different, or that's got to go away. This doesn't align over here, so we got to do something different, or it can go away. And then, or yes, this goes in alignment with the vision. Let's do it, and so I have to be clear with that. Let me just speak to you women for a minute. Oftentimes, you ladies are the first ones that pick up on, hey, it wasn't what you said, it was how you said it. It wasn't that you said this, it was the tone that you used when you said it. And we men are like, well, that's not what I meant, so I don't know how you picked up on that, and then you women have to explain to us, that, hey, it doesn't matter if that's how you said, the tone that you used is, it meant, it was disrespectful, or if it was hurtful or whatever. You've got to be clear with us. Now, the other part of that is, in my delivery. If I don't know, if you're offended and I don't know that I offended you, well, then you've got to let me know. Because if you don't, there's a good chance I'm going to offend you again. And the one thing I don't want to do is hurt my wife's feelings. I don't want to say anything that's going to put anything between me and my wife at all. And men, as I know there's more men listeners to this show than there are women. So men, we got to do better at trying to deliver, but also we got to do better at trying to listen, so that when we do deliver whatever information we're trying to deliver, we're better at it. And the self-righteous person would say, would speak according to this, like it's my life, you're just living in it. It's your feelings are your responsibility, blah, 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 all those kinds of things. Well, that's great on the battlefield, and it's great in the workplace in some cases. But it is not good if you're trying to do ministry, or if you're trying to keep a relationship healthy. The biggest thing me and my wife can do is communicate and trust each other. So it's hard for her to trust me if she doesn't know where I'm at. And it's hard for me to trust her if I don't know where she's at mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I've got to be able to have a pretty good indication of where my wife is, so that I can talk to her at wherever she is. If she's high, if she's low, if she's somewhere in the middle, the emotional roller coaster that is life, I need to know where my wife is, so that when I talk to her, I can talk to her on whatever that level is, and vice versa. If my mind's going 1,000,000 miles a minute, most of the time it is. If I'm trying to think out 3 to 5 things at the same time, which a lot of times I am, if she comes at me, in a nonchalant way and says, hey, we got to do this, or don't forget to do this, it might get lost in the sauce because I'm not thinking about that right now. That's, where I'm prioritizing, and that's a lower priority. And if she doesn't make it seem like a big deal, guess what? It's off to whatever. Squirrel. It's gone. And so it's important not to be so arrogant that and self-righteous that we don't think about how we're affecting other people. The self-righteous person gets offended, as soon as you come at them, and they cannot be corrected, because how could they do anything wrong? And that self-righteous, mentality is what can destroy a church real quick. And it's the self-righteous people who feel like they have to have all the control, or at least some control. And it is very arrogant and toxic to have those types of people in an atmosphere, because you shouldn't have to work around people like that in order to get things done, or you shouldn't have to plan around people like that in order to try to get things done. You should be able to do ministry without having to worry about tiptoeing around people or walking on eggshells around people or offending this, that, or the other people, just trying to do the work of the Lord. And at the same time, you got to be cognizant of who you're hurting, because some people the delivery has to be in a way that, well, it's got to be from a place of love. And love don't sound harsh. Not all the time. Love should be direct. Love should be from a place that that doesn't want you to hurt, but definitely wants you to heal. And in some cases, love's got to do a little bit of damage before it can start healing. And sometimes it's the hard stuff that's hard to hear that promotes the most healing in your life. We don't like saying the hard stuff. Everybody likes saying the easy stuff. There's some people that they sound like they always want to say the hard stuff, or they're like, well, don't ask me because I'm going to tell you the truth, and then they don't tell you the truth, or they tell you what you want to hear. And there's some people that sit on go just waiting to hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, don't ask me. You shouldn't ask me if you didn't want the truth. Well, your delivery is terrible, because that 60% of the conversation we talked about, which is the perception of what you're trying to say, shouldn't have to second guess whether you love them or not. And I'm talking about Christians. You lost folk, you do whatever you want to do because you're lost. You should be trying to get saved. I'm talking to saved folk, the church, because the church should be love. Jesus said, they'll know you're mine because you love one another like I've loved you. It shouldn't be a mystery of who's saved or who's not. What's sad is you can get a lot more support on a bar stool sometimes than you can in a pew. And it shouldn't be that case. We should all be there for each other. No one should struggle alone. No one should. We should not suffer alone. We should all be there for each other. And so the other thing is, there's, we talked about that perspective, and then the self-righteous perspective, and then there's those who are ignorantly in bondage, and which is, you don't even know you're in bondage. You don't even know that you're, what the delivery is supposed to be like, and whatever, and so you wonder if God can save someone like you, and you're not even sure if salvation is for you. Well, it is. You're a whosoever. I'm a whosoever. And if Jesus can save someone like me, he can save you. And yes, when my Bible says whosoever, that's you too. Absolutely you. So you are no longer ignorant to the gospel, and you are no longer ignorant to what Jesus Christ can do. He came to this world to die for us, to save us from sin, so that we can live forever with him after we die down here or get raptured. And one day, that rapture is going to happen. And you got to ask yourself, do I believe in Jesus? Or what can help me to believe in him? I mean, deep down, there's more to life than what there is, what you've seen. There's more to life than this, whatever you got going on. And that more to life thing is the fact that God loved this world so much, he loved you so much, that he sent Jesus almost 2,000 years ago to die on a Roman cross, to be crucified, so that you could walk free. Even you, could walk free. So now you're not ignorant of the gospel. You got a decision to make. The third thing, and then I'm wrapping this thing up, is the perspective of humility. That God would send Jesus to even die for you and me. Even us. It blows my mind that somehow, some way, the Lord looked through the time and the crowds of people that are all around us. It was like, I even want him. I'm not arrogant. I don't think I know everything. I don't even think I know a lot. I'm amazed every single day, especially a day like today, that he chose me to be a pastor, and he broke my heart for people, and that he uses me even at all. And we should all feel like that. We should all be humbled. We should all know that it's not our story, it's the Lord's story. And whatever he's doing, we're just fortunate enough to have any kind of part in it, even the part of just the testimony. And I think it's amazing that he would use any of us, especially me. Listen, I love you, and God loves you. This has been the Unqualified Podcast with Leon Wilson.